Well, after the last video where I couldn't turn downwind, I'm back at the beach for another try. I don't hold much hope this time because the wind strength is more or less the same as the previous time. There is one difference though, and that is this time I have a working elevator. I have added some strengthening rods to improve a problem I had with the tail being weak in torsion. This was advice from a video comment, so thank you very much. It has definitely worked. The rudder mechanism also now has limit stops, and I've drilled some holes in the arm to make it look pretty. I've also added some cables that really strengthen the vertical stabilizer, and I'll demonstrate what effect this has now. This is a test without the cables. Look how much the rudder is bending and how much the top of the vertical stabilizer is moving around. Now compare that to a test with the cables. The top of the vertical stabilizer is solid, and there is much less bending of the rudder. There is still some movement of the whole tail, but not the individual parts as before. I did have some comments with concern about the movement of the tail, but have a look at this certified aircraft. It flexes too, and I would suggest the movement on both is pretty similar. Static thrust tests are by their nature a little rough. Of course, if I decide I want more strength, I will add that, but added strength usually comes with a weight penalty. It's always a compromise, and as a machine in development, the machine will evolve. Changes are made as problems are found and hopefully solved. Okay, back to the beach where I'm interested to see what happens this time. To remind ourselves of the problem in the last video, with a wind strength of 15 miles an hour, you cannot turn downwind. That is, with the wind behind you. You can travel into the wind no problem, but you can't turn around due to the weather vaning effect on the vertical stabilizer. There have been some good suggestions to solve this, which I'll go into shortly. Today the wind speed is just below 15 miles an hour, somewhere between 10 and 14, and that has made enough difference to be able to turn around. It's marginal, but doable. It took me a few attempts, as this video demonstrates. With the elevator, notice I have aerodynamic horns. This was just to increase the size of the elevator, but there was quite a noticeable difference in stick forces when compared to the rudder, which does not have an aerodynamic horn. The horns reduce the force needed to deflect the control surface as it operates on the other side of the hinge. I wish now I had added a horn to the rudder. Something I've come to understand about a situation where you have a boat controlled with an aircraft tail is that with a tailwind you have very little control surface authority. This is because the boat will only go so fast with the addition of the tailwind because of all the water causing drag. I think an aircraft would go much faster with a tailwind and flight control authority would be less affected. Airboats then must suffer from similar effects, a reduction in control downwind, perhaps less so because of the proximity of the control surface to the propeller. Airboats, it seems, are affected in speed much more than water-propelled driven boats, with changes in wind speed. With a headwind, it will be like travelling upstream in a normal boat. Likewise, going upstream in an airboat in calm wind conditions might be less affected than a water-propelled boat. Perhaps obvious statements, but I can't say I've thought about these scenarios before. I was playing around with the elevator at different speeds and it seemed to work fine. I could just about detect a slight change in boat pitch. This would probably be more noticeable from an outside view. I didn't have anything to measure the speed, but I didn't notice a change in speed when the elevator reached full deflection in either direction. There was a time when the wind picked up speed again, and again I couldn't turn around. This time, instead of getting towed back to the beach, I decided to employ a different strategy. The wind was pushing me back towards the car, so all I had to do is wait. It took about 10 to 15 minutes before I was in line with the car again. The wind did push me further into the middle of the estuary, but good enough. Another thing that I'm wondering is when the wings are on the boat, it won't be able to lean into a turn like it does now. Floats will be mounted on the trailing edge of the wings, will most likely prevent this. Will this make turning downwind even harder? That brings me back to an idea of a water rudder. I think it would be quite easy to attach a small fin to the bottom of the air rudder. At certain times, the air rudder actually contacts the water like it is, so I don't think it will take a very long fin to make a difference. I was actually using the elevator to try and push the tail down further into the water to increase the ability to turn downwind. I think it made a difference when I got it just right. A boat needs to be pre-planing speed at the highest angle of attack and the biggest wake to make it happen. As pointed out in previous comments, float planes do have water rudders. They are needed to solve the problems I've discovered. During our time at the beach, we did get asked if we had permission to be there by a member of the public. Not sure if he asked the people on jet skis, powerboats, or just everyone that was walking along the beach if they had permission to be there. I was interested to see if I could recover the boat by myself, so this is a time-lapse of the process. I couldn't pull the trailer out of the soft muddy sand by hand, so attached a rope. The elevator has to be removed for transport by road, but it's not a major job. I'll make some quick release hinge pins instead of bolts to speed up the process. Overall then, I'm very happy with the test today. It's been very encouraging and now it's full steam ahead with making the wings. Thanks again to Piers, Fiona and Airboat UK for being backup. The testing couldn't take place without them. I'm extremely lucky they're available so frequently.